Hello again. I'm seriously beginning to think that people who declare themselves to be anti-racists must be missing some vital part of their intellectual apparatus, the bit of the brain which allows us to distinguish between concepts such as most and few, all or some, often or seldom. The reason that I say this is very simple. It is as plain as a pikestaff to me that some black people are stupid. It is also clear that other black people are extremely clever. The same is of course true of white people, those of South Asian and also East Asian heritage. Does anybody disagree with this, I wonder? I also believe firmly that all racial prejudice is wrong. That is to say, I think it wrong, ethically and morally, to deny a person opportunities, whether in education, employment, housing, or any other area of life, solely on the grounds of ethnicity or skin colour. So far, so good. However, I also believe that the chances of a black person being outstandingly clever are probably slightly less than in the case of somebody of East Asian heritage. Now, this is where the reasoning processes of anti-racists fail, and they start to go round and round in circles, growing ever more angry and inarticulate with fury, because they simply cannot grasp the idea that it is possible to believe that some black people are stupid and some black people are very clever. It does not compute for them. They seem to be unable to grasp the difference between some and all. So when talking of me and my views, you will typically find that anti-racists claim that I think that black people are mentally disadvantaged, or that they are less intelligent than white people. You see, what happens is they find it hard to think in terms of fractions and percentages, or fully to understand what is meant by a proportion. For this reason, they are only able to cope with the idea that a racist must think that all black people are dim-witted. I have seen this claim made about me, and I find it astounding that anybody could be so dull-witted as not to see how foolish they are being. He thinks that black people are slow-witted, you might hear, or perhaps he says that white people are more intelligent than black people. When I see such statements, I honestly cannot imagine what is behind the thought processes of the people who make them. Do they not realise that some black people are dim-witted and others as sharp as a lancet? That the same thing applies to all ethnicities? Do they think that all black people are very bright? When I meet a person of whatever colour or ethnicity, I have no possible way of telling if that person will be clever or not. I have to speak to them for a while and get to know them before I can have any idea about this. Surely that isn't too hard to understand. It would be foolish to assume that because somebody is Chinese, then he's likely to be clever and shrewd, or that due to the fact that he is black, he's probably stupid. That's called racial prejudice, and it's a foolish way of thinking. Most people of any skin colour will be of average intelligence, that is to say with an IQ of between 95 and 105, say. Some will be much higher than this, and a few will be geniuses. There is considerable evidence, although it's by no means certain, that the proportion of those who are very clever will be higher for people of East Asian heritage than for white Europeans, and also that for people of black African ancestry the proportion might be a little lower than for either Asians or Europeans. But that does not really make any difference. I don't meet many white geniuses any more than I do black ones or Chinese or Koreans. The difference in the very intelligent end of the scale or spectrum might show up in the aggregate, that is to say, in the results of a very large cohort, but not in day-to-day life. It might perhaps mean that we would be less likely to encounter a black Nobel Prize winner than a white or Chinese one. But again, this makes no difference to me because I don't come into contact with all that many Nobel Prize winners as a rule. Historically, this tendency for extremely clever people to be slightly more common in some ethnic groups rather than others probably leaves its mark, but not in day-to-day life. Almost every black person and white whom I meet will probably be in the average range of intelligence. This is the reason that I sometimes think that anti-racists must be a little slow, because they are not able to grasp that one can think along these lines and treat every person one encounters with an open mind and a complete lack of preconceived ideas about the individual. For the anti-racist, racists are people who think that black people are more stupid than white people, and that is all there is to it. The finer graduations of thought escape them. The idea that there could be a slight difference in the number of geniuses to be found among various human populations leaves them staring uncomprehending, with their mouths gaping in bewilderment. I tend to find anti-racists such heavy going intellectually that I give them a wide berth whenever possible. Although, of course, some do crop up here from time to time, and I am as courteous to them as I am able. They are, though, in addition to having plodding and pedestrian minds, often lacking in any sense of humour, which I'm bound to say makes them very poor company, even when just exchanging comments with them on YouTube.